week, another Gamers Day. These publishers just can't help themselves. Capcom was the latest big shot to play the hostess with the mostess to the uniformly dishevelled gaming press, and Eurogamer scruffed up to take a good look at the Japanese publisher's biggest and best prospects for the coming year. Now, if releasing sequels is an addiction, then Capcom is surely the Amy Winehouse of gaming. A veritable junkie of releasing things with different numbers on the end, while still more often than not making a rather good fist of it. And when they've got the likes of Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Mega Man, Onimusha, and Devil May Cry all crammed cheek by jowl into their vault, who can blame them? This week we're going to be taking a look at the return of Street Fighter 4, the latest in a series that surely suffers from chronic sequelitis unlike any other. But there's more to Capcom than the continued flogging of their stable of champion thoroughbreds. And one brand new title piquing our interest is Dark Void. Dark Void is the first title from the US-based Airtight Studios, formed from the tastiest leftovers of the now dead FASA Interactive. FASA, you may remember, was the team behind Shadowrun, the first title to offer cross-platform gaming on 360 and PC. But more relevant to Airtight's debut is FASA's excellent Crimson Skies High Road to Revenge, which took off on the original Xbox way back in 2003. And while the experience of Crimson Skies has no doubt aided and abetted with certain aspects of Dark Void, the influence of Epic's Gears of War is one the team makes no bones about.
The thing that I think hasn't happened since then is that there hasn't been enough innovation. And so I think one of the standing points about Dark Void is now we've done something completely different with the cover system, and we've really made it our own. Vertical cover is really intense. You know, when you're in these traditional horizontal cover systems, you just sit there and you sit behind the wall and you're safe. You're usually safe. There's no real jeopardy there. When you get in the vertical cover, you're grabbing onto a ledge while shooting a gun. It's an intense experience, and I think it really changes the way we think about cover.
Which, for Gears of War veterans, sounds like it will require a healthy broadening of horizons.
Gears of War kind of taught us how a good sort of iconography and a way of doing horizontal cover. So what we do is we kind of try to build from that base. Players automatically know how to get into the cover system in horizontal. So then what we do is we gradually build and kind of build onto that control mechanism and then bring them into vertical. So there's no barrier to control, and that allows us to really focus on the controls of vertical combat, of the jetpack, of the grip system. Those are the new things that we're teaching the player.
Now, the jetpack, as we've heard, threatens to completely transform the typical cover and fire experience. But freedom of movement and variety are also positive side effects of the rocket pack, which plays to the strengths of the former Crimson Skies developer.
We want a player to be able to say, you know, I want to take the safer route and try this, or I want to be a little more daring and I want to try to fly up in the middle of a hairball, take over a UFO, use that to strafe a bunch of watchers, and then eject and go somewhere else. So hopefully as much of it as possible will be the player's choice.
So, as we never tire of forcefully pigeonholing games as crudely as possible, with Dark Void we're looking at a promising mix of Gears of War, Cliffhanger, and The Rocketeer, or something like that. Yet, despite its influences and inspirations, of course, Dark Void is very much its own game.
Basically, in Dark Void, you play as Will, who's sort of the hero of the game. He's running a routine kind of cargo mission through the Bermuda Triangle, and of course, his plane navigation goes out and he crashes on an island. When he's kind of on the island, he doesn't know where he is. He stumbles onto this ancient alien race called the Watchers, who have kind of crawled out of the void. The Void is sort of a parallel universe, and Will gets trapped in it.
But let's not forget it's also a Capcom game.
The emphasis of character is just a unique trait to Capcom. You know, Capcom games, I feel, have been consistently really playable and really fun. We've been gamers forever, and we know what a Capcom game is. You look at games like Resident Evil and Dead Rising, Frank West, and Lost. They all have very iconic characters, and we don't want to be the game that doesn't have that iconic character. We want to be the game that really lives up to those expectations. And I think with Will and his character, I think we've done that.
There's a full year to go on Dark Void, so have patience, dear viewer. And why not peruse Eurogamer.net's more detailed thoughts by jetpacking it to the red button. Now then, out with the new and in with the old. Or rather, in with the new old. Because with the stupidly exciting prospect of Street Fighter 4, Capcom is smashing a dragon punch to the face of modern 3D fighters like Virtua Fighter, Dead or Alive, Tekken, and Soul Calibur, and holding true to the series' purest 2D roots. And God bless them for it. The original Street Fighter, which released in 1987, is probably most notable for unleashing Ryu and Ken into the gaming arena. But as everybody knows, it was with 1991's sequel, Street Fighter 2 World Warrior, that Capcom created an experience that was nothing short of a revolution in arcade gaming. That can be pretty much summed up in one word. So, all things considered, it's little wonder there's been one or two sequels since. And then, of course, in 1994, there was Kylie. Yoga teleport to 2008 and Capcom is readying the first major new installment this millennium. And it's one that's causing a spinning pile driver of excitement amongst fans. Having followed the title's progress for months, suffered Total Recall eyes over every trailer, and yes, even played it, Sonic Boom the red button for more on that. At Capcom's Captivate event, we were treated to an almost finished version of the coin-op and an opportunity to chat with the ridiculously enthusiastic producer Yoshinori Ono, who started by telling us all about the newly revealed boss character, Seth.
Seth is a really interesting character because he has connections to some other important characters in Street Fighter 4. You may have noticed, of course, that M. Bison is back. And at the end of Street Fighter 2, everyone presumed that Shadaloo had been destroyed and Bison presumably had been killed. He's a hard guy to kill, and he's once again returned. So what we need to figure out as players looking at the story, why is Shadaloo back? How did that happen? How and why did Bison come back? And what is Seth's connection to that? There's a good deal of story in the arcade game. There'll be even more in the consumer version. And I certainly don't want to spoil everything about Seth now.
Fans of the original Street Fighter 2 will recall the intense speculation over whether you could really be the bosses. In the event, no, you couldn't. That's what Championship Edition was for. So, are we going to get our paws on Seth first time around?
If I could, I'd rather you just subtitle this whole segment with 3 little ellipses down there. I mean, can pretend I didn't say anything, but I'll at least tell you this much. You know, if people express a desire to take control of Seth, we might see a movement in that direction at some point. I certainly don't want to say much more than that now. I've already said too much.
The arcade version's coming first this summer, but 360, PS3 and PC ports are confirmed. The Street Fighter experience can very easily live or die based on how it feels to play with a console's controller. On the SNES pad it was sublime. On Mega Drive they released a special 6-button version to accommodate. On Xbox 360 so far, well, the versions on Live Arcade don't feel brilliant to us. And Capcom is fully aware of gamers' concerns.
The big advantage there is everyone's used to using a PlayStation controller for these types of games. You know, on the PlayStation 1 and 2, you know, it's the shape that everyone's hands are used to. They know how to play a game on it. We've done Street Fighter titles on PlayStation consoles before, so we know what kind of sensitivity adjustments need to be made. We know that people can very easily control fighting games with a PlayStation controller. So basically what we're trying to do now is figure out a way to make the D-pad work really well with Street Fighter 4. You know, given that the controller is what it is, what we're going to do is on the software side, on our side, we're looking to see what kind of sensitivity or timing adjustments we need to do. What we can do on the software side to make a controller that wasn't necessarily designed for fighting games work really well with a fighting game. We're confident we can do that, but the dev team, actually right now as we speak, that's kind of the current hot topic of discussion back at home base.
Keep the faith, kids. Excited yet? Yoshi is.
今回ですね、ストリートファイター4を
Street Fighter's been a big phenomenon in the States and in Japan, and also in Europe, we presume. So we really want you guys to enjoy this. There's one new European character. There's no new British characters, and we apologize for that. But we really hope you guys enjoyed this game. Certainly you're a big part of the audience we're making it for. So by all means, please enjoy Street Fighter 4. We're looking forward to bringing you the best game we possibly can.
イタリアのファンの皆さんに応援してもらえればなと思っています。
Consider us captivated.